The city wore a gray coat of drizzle that day, miserable, damp, and distant. Cars crawled along the boulevard like weary insects. Inside one of them sat Daniel Cross, the man who rarely looked back. His success was towering, his office a fortress of glass and power, and his decisions, often surgical, rarely questioned. He didn't like loose ends. He didn't like second-guessing. And yet, as he leaned back in the driver's seat of his matte black Range Rover at a red light, his fingers paused over the steering wheel. Something had caught his eye. A small folding table stood crooked near the sidewalk, soaked cardboard propped against it with trembling handwriting that read, "Please buy our puppy -$20, we need help." Beside it, barely shielded by a broken umbrella, stood a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 8. Her thin hoodie clung to her like paper, and her hands clutched a towel that poorly covered a small golden retriever puppy, whose ears drooped and shivered in the cold. Daniel could have driven on. Most people did. He didn't need the complications of a sidewalk sob story. But something, the weight of silence, the way the girl wasn't shouting or begging, just standing there, made him signal and pull over. He stepped out, his leather shoes crunching lightly on the wet pavement. As he approached, the girl glanced up at him. Her eyes were too wide for her little face, tired, scared, yet strangely hopeful. She lowered the towel, revealing the shaking puppy beneath. He stopped a few feet away, unsure what to say. The girl took one small step forward, then whispered, barely above the rain, "Please buy our puppy." Her voice was a thread in the wind, and yet it struck him harder than any boardroom debate. He stared at her, confused by the ache in his chest. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lila," she answered, hugging the towel close again. "This is Max." He crouched down to their level. Max wagged his tail slightly, perhaps trying to seem brave. The girl offered a small, uncertain smile. "Why are you selling him?" Daniel asked, more to understand than anything else. Lila glanced at the cardboard sign and then looked away. "Mom said we might have to move, we can't afford stuff. So I thought, maybe if I sell Max, she won't be so sad anymore." Her lower lip trembled. "I trained him. He knows how to sit. He likes stories, too." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked past her to the park bench nearby. A woman sat there, hunched over, soaked through and barely moving. Her fingers clutched a crumpled grocery bag and her head hung low. His gaze sharpened. Something familiar about her. Then it hit him. He'd seen her before, her photo attached to one of many HR reports. Her name, Emily Turner. She'd worked in the finance department for 6 years. Her file had crossed his desk just 2 weeks ago. He had signed off on the layoff with a scribble and a sigh. She had been just another name in a sea of losses, one of many sacrificed to appease the board. But now, here she was. Broken, defeated, watching helplessly as her child tried to sell joy in a towel for $20. Daniel's mouth went dry. He looked back at Lila. She had crouched beside Max, petting him gently. "He's a really good boy," she murmured. "He gets scared in the rain, but I tell him it's just the clouds crying a little." A silence wrapped around them, heavy and awkward. Daniel slowly sat down on the wet curb beside her. His $1,000 coat soaked instantly, but he didn't care. He extended a hand, and she placed Max in his arms without hesitation. The warmth of the puppy against him was sharp, real, immediate. He felt something stir in him, something he hadn't felt in a long time. Guilt, not the businessman's kind that flickers and dies, but the human kind, deep and cutting. He looked over at the woman on the bench again. She still hadn't lifted her head. "I think," Daniel said carefully, "that Max is lucky to have you." Lila looked up. "You mean, you won't buy him?" He hesitated. "Maybe I'll buy something else instead. Like time." She didn't understand, but he did. Daniel stood, cradling Max gently. "Can you take me to your mom, Lila?" The little girl nodded, suddenly shy. As they walked toward the woman on the bench, Daniel Cross realized, for the first time in years, that he wasn't walking toward a problem to fix. He was walking toward the consequences of a choice he had made. And maybe, just maybe, the chance to make one that finally mattered. Emily didn't lift her head until she heard the soft patter of footsteps and a familiar bark. She looked up, her soaked hair clinging to her cheek, and froze. Lila was walking toward her, hand in hand with a man she never expected to see again. And in his arms was Max, wrapped gently in the towel. Her eyes narrowed. "Lila," she said, sitting up straighter. "Get over here." Daniel let go of Lila's hand as the girl ran to her mother and hugged her tightly. Emily's voice dropped to a whisper, tight with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" Daniel took a cautious step forward, holding Max like something precious. "I saw Lila. I stopped." "You," she scoffed bitterly. "You stopped. What for?" "Another PR stunt. Damage control." Her eyes flicked to the Range Rover parked across the street. "You've done enough, Mr. Cross." Daniel's jaw tightened. He deserved that, but he didn't flinch. "I didn't know," he said honestly. "When I signed the papers, you were just a name. I didn't know about Lila. I didn't know about this. And now that you do, what?" she snapped. "Going to offer me a check to clear your conscience?" "No," he said calmly. "I'm going to offer you something better." Emily gave a bitter laugh, wiping her face with the sleeve of her coat. "There's nothing you could offer that would fix this. I've sent out 50 job applications in 2 weeks. I've sold furniture. I haven't eaten properly in 3 days, but my daughter doesn't know that because I lie to her and say I already ate. That puppy," she pointed to Max, now snuggled in Daniel's coat, "is the last thing she has that makes her feel safe. And she tried to sell him to save me. That's not something a child should ever have to do." Daniel swallowed the lump rising in his throat. "I know," he said. "And I'm sorry." Emily looked at him with weary eyes. "You think sorry helps now?" "No," he replied, "but maybe this will." He pulled a folded envelope from his inside coat pocket and handed it to her. She opened it slowly, expecting cash. Instead, her eyes landed on a letterhead, Cross Financial Group, with her name typed at the top. Reinstatement offer. Senior financial analyst. Remote options available. Full benefits. Effective immediately. Her breath caught. Below it was a handwritten note. "No one should ever be reduced to a number. I'm sorry I did that to you. Please allow me the chance to make it right. Daniel Cross." She stared at it in disbelief. Daniel continued, voice low, "Not charity. You earned your place long before I ever sat in that corner office. I've launched a hardship support program starting today. Your story showed me what real courage looks like. You shouldn't be punished for circumstances out of your control." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. I don't know what to say." Lila, still holding her mom's arm, whispered, "Can we keep Max now?" Daniel smiled for the first time. "Not only keep him, he's going to be famous. I'm naming our new employee assistance initiative after him. Project Max, because sometimes, it's the little things that save us." Emily laughed softly, tears now spilling freely. "You really mean this, don't you?" "I do," Daniel said simply. "For once, I want to do the right thing. Not the corporate thing, the human thing." A long silence passed between them. Rain still fell lightly, but the tension had melted away. Emily stood up, the letter pressed to her chest. She extended her hand. Daniel shook it, firm and sincere. "Thank you," she said. "Not just for the job. For seeing us." "I should have seen you sooner," he replied. Lila looked between them and smiled. "Mommy, he's nice." Emily nodded, still wiping tears. "Yes, baby, I think maybe he is." Daniel knelt and handed Max back to Lila. The puppy licked her chin and curled into her arms, right where he belonged. As they walked toward the car, with Daniel insisting on giving them a ride home, the sign on the table behind them fluttered in the breeze. "Please buy our puppy -$20, we need help." It remained untouched, because someone had already bought something far more valuable that day. Redemption, trust, and a second chance.